Q&A with guest star Suki. Look how big she is. She's almost 10 pounds. Look at her little strawberry butt. Strawberry butt. Strawberry butt. We're gonna answer some questions. You guys asked me some really great and interesting questions on my IG stories. Are you breastfeeding and how long do you plan on doing it for? So I am not breastfeeding anymore. I tried it. I was like really interested in giving breastfeeding a go. I was breastfeeding for literally, I think not even like 3 weeks because I could not handle it, guys. It was very hard. It is not easy, and I was like listening to this podcast that made me feel a lot better about my decision to switching over to formula, because it was just saying that breastfeeding is difficult for many reasons, solely because it's a cultural thing. Here in the US, you are very pressured as a woman to breastfeed. Like even at the hospital, the immediate response is, are you breastfeeding? And they kind of don't even really give you an option to use formula. Nobody really offered any formula to me. Nobody really told me what my options were for like breastfeeding or formula. They kind of like leave it up to the mom to really call the shots. And when I was in the hospital, like I was on the epidural, obviously, and I'll explain that later on. But when you take an epidural, it's literally like, I felt like I was on heroin or something. I was literally high for like the next 2 days in the hospital. So there's a lot of emotions, a lot of hormones, and like the last thing you really like want to do in the hospital is like make decisions. So it's overall kind of awkward. I feel like the nurses also don't really want to overstep and say like you should breastfeed or you should use formula or, you know, do whatever you want. They don't really say much. They leave it open-ended, which in a way I think is nice because like it doesn't pressure the woman. But then some nurses, their like automatic choice is to breastfeed because of the health benefits and the studies that they've done on breastfeeding and all that and the benefits. But this is a very convoluted answer. Honestly, it's just not as easy as it's just not as easy. It's very hard. It's literally like a full-time job in itself to breastfeed. Like by you breastfeeding, you're like teaching your kid that like you are their source of food, and if you can't handle that commitment and that dependence from them, it's going to be very hard on your mental health. And personally, for my job, like I have to change outfits, and I can't be leaking on my clothes while making videos and then stop to breastfeed. Like most of my outfits will not allow me to wear those pads that stop you from leaking because you could see the pads, and you have to wear a bra with the pads. And some of the clothes I wear, I don't want to wear a bra, or can't wear a bra. So I thought about that and I was like, okay, well, if I breastfeed for over 6 months, then I'm gonna have to figure out how to make that work, and that won't. And then also what happens after like 12 months of breastfeeding? Some people do 18, some do even 2 years. What happens after that? How are you going to transition your kid to using the bottle? So those are all the things that I took into account. And also my mental health was just not the best, and it was really hard to keep up with like late night feedings. Like I would take her to feed on the couch, and I would fall asleep with her in my arms, and I feel really bad because then I'll wake up in the morning and be like, oh my gosh, like what if I had let go of her and she fell off the couch? Or what if she like fell into the couch cushions and like suffocated? There's just so many things that I was like scared about and got a lot of anxiety from breastfeeding, and it just was not for me. So I tried it, didn't like it, and want you guys to know it's okay if you don't want to breastfeed. Don't feel guilty. It really is fine. I have so many friends that didn't even start breastfeeding. They went straight to formula. Their baby's fine. So whatever you want to do as a mom. Don't listen to anyone else. Don't listen to the nurses. Don't listen to your boyfriend, your husband, your girlfriend, your friends that have babies. Literally listen to no one but yourself and what's best for you. Hi, active little girly. Can you share what you took in your hospital bag? Honestly, I made a little TikTok about what I brought, but like honestly, you don't really need anything at the hospital. They pretty much provide you a majority of the stuff, and all you really need is like a pretty nice hospital gown that's comfortable. I don't like the hospital gowns that they provide. Hey! All you really need is like good PJs to change into after, and then like a nice gown. I didn't even use like any of my toiletries, didn't use those grippy socks. Like I pretty much only used pajamas and my gown and my phone charger. I didn't take a shower. They offered a shower. I didn't want to shower in the hospital. It just wasn't, I didn't even care. You know, I already am dirty. Like I just wanted to shower at home. So I didn't do that, and I just used the underwear and all the stuff that they provided me. And then when I went home, I used the Freedom Mom kit, which had like all of the healing stuff, which I'll link all the Freedom Mom stuff. That stuff is amazing. It's so helpful. And they also have really great Frida baby products as well. Big yawn. Is it hard trying to get back into shape? Yes, it is very hard for someone who wasn't very in shape before. I may have looked very thin, but that's just like my genetics. I was just a very thin girl, petite frame, so I didn't really have to work hard for my body. And I had ended up, I started before pregnancy, I was like 110, 120 on like a heavier day. I think right before my pregnancy, right before I found out, I was getting close to 100 pounds because I didn't know I was pregnant, and I was feeling so sick and nothing really tasted good. I had no appetite. So I lost a lot of weight when I was pregnant with her and didn't know. But then as soon as I hit around like 30, like the 30-week mark, that's when I really started gaining weight. My peak weight was 150 pounds. That's the most weight I've ever had on my body before ever. So that was really hard to adjust to. And so after giving birth, it's been really hard to like lose my weight. I'm like 126 now, 2 months later, and it's slowing down. It's very hard to get back to that 110 mark. During my pregnancy, I really just ate whatever stuffed my face, and I really wish I hadn't. They always say like, oh, you should eat for two, but no, do not eat for two. That is a myth. You should not do that, because the more weight you gain during pregnancy, the harder it's going to be to lose all of that once you give birth. But yeah, I'm just doing like a calorie deficit. Lana Rhodes talks about this on The Skinny Confidential. A friend told me about it. And so I'm kind of following her diet, like no sugar, no carbs. I don't want there to be any pressure on any other women watching this that feel like they need to do the same thing. It's just more of a personal, bless you. It's more of a personal choice for me to go back to that size because of my job. Honestly, if I didn't have a job that required me to take pictures and be in front of a camera, I probably would wait much longer than a year to get my body back to where it was before. Someone asked, did you rip or have to be cut? I ripped to a 2nd degree. There's technically 4 degrees. The 4th degree is when you rip all the way from your vagina to your butthole, which is the one that nobody wants, obviously, but I ripped a little bit. And so what that means is you have a tear in your vaginal hole, and then right after you give birth, the doctor will sew you up. And because I got the epidural, I literally did not feel it at all, which was so crazy because you have your like legs up and like you're like looking at the doctor, you know they're putting like, you know they're like sewing, but you can't feel it because you're so numb. An epidural goes from, it paralyzes you from the waist down. Hi. She just wanted to say hi. But like you can slightly tell that like something's happening, like you're being like touched and messed with, but it's like there's zero pain. Stuff that they use to like sew you up, it'll end up dissolving and it just kind of like goes away as you heal. There's just like a slight discomfort for a good 3 weeks. And then it finally went away. Like I didn't have to wear those giant pads that they give you for the bleeding. The bleeding kind of stopped after like 4 weeks, and now I'm at 2 months and I finally had sex. I waited like 8 weeks to have sex because I was just not ready. I really wasn't like mentally all there to be like turned on. Like the last thing I was really thinking about was sex, because like you're so exhausted when you come home with a newborn, like you're not sleeping. So I just was not in the mood to have sex. Guys are a whole different story. They're ready to have sex like day one. So, but yes, obviously didn't pressure me and just like waited until I was ready. Someone asked if I am going to be using a form of birth control now that I have a baby. As some of you guys know, I wasn't using a birth control for about 4 years. I know a lot of people were like wondering if like she was an accident or blah, blah, blah. She was something we decided to go forward with. It wasn't necessarily a surprise, nor was it completely planned out. And so that being said, no, I'm not taking any birth control because I have said before, I don't believe in birth control. I have taken the pill, the depot shot, the ring. I've done multiple types of birth controls and they're all very scary, and I don't like the side effects, and overall they just fuck with my brain, my hormones, and I just don't like who I am when I'm on birth control. So I do not like using it. I don't like the harmful effects of it. Yaz and I just use condoms now. We both agreed that he doesn't want to take any form of birth control, and neither do I. So our agreement was just to continue using condoms, sticking to like latex free ones as well, because I'm like allergic to latex. I'm pretty sure it's so uncomfortable wearing latex condoms. What was the most painful part of labor, and did the epidural actually help? So yes, as I said, I got the epidural. It did actually help. I was basically dilated 6 centimeters and I could not handle the pain. I literally thought I was gonna black out, just pass out from how painful the dilating was. It was just the most insane pain I've ever felt in my life. It truly, you can feel your body opening up. You feel your vaginal canal just widening, and it's exactly how it sounds. Truly painful, and I couldn't handle it. So I screamed and begged for the epidural. A guy came in, he made me sit up, bend over, or hunch over as I'm sitting on the bed, and I didn't see a single thing. He just put the needle in me. It goes in like your spine. I didn't feel it at all. Like, really glad I got that, because I have seen natural birth videos and I truly don't know if I can handle that type of pain. Was choosing a name hard? I feel like I would be so overwhelmed trying to decide. No, I had the name Suki in mind for so long, since like 2013, 2014. I've always loved it, and I remember being younger thinking like, I'm gonna name my first daughter Suki, like that's gonna be her name. And also when I found out I was pregnant, didn't even know the gender yet, I had the strongest feeling that she was gonna be a girl, and I was like, her name is Suki. Like, I already knew her name was Suki, and like Yaz had some other names like that he thought he liked, but he wanted a boy and he already had boy names in mind, but he really didn't have any girl names. So yeah, I was like, it's gotta be Suki. She just feels like a Suki. That's who she is. What surprised you? Okay, yeah, me and Yaz just did not realize that like newborns cry like all the time, like every 2 hours basically, and we didn't know they had to be fed like every 2 hours. We also did not like realize they didn't just like go to sleep on command, which is like, it sounds kind of silly, and like I know other people are gonna be like, oh wow, you weren't prepared to have a baby, but whatever. Like, nothing will ever prepare you to be a parent, so don't let the haters get to you. Like, that's just how it was, and we figured it out. We got on a schedule now, but like, yeah, that surprised me the most. I was like, God damn, they just like, they don't know how to self-soothe. They don't just like go to bed when they're tired. They just cry when they're tired because they don't know how to connect the dots. I just didn't understand, so wasn't aware. I honestly didn't really have much prior experience with babies before her. So it's been a really crazy, beautiful lesson with my little nugget. How was it traveling on the plane with baby? So I took Suki to Chicago, and she cried a little bit because she got gassy and I didn't have gas drops for her. So she cried for maybe like 5 minutes, but like 5 minutes of crying feels like 2 hours on a plane. So it was very overwhelming. I was very sweaty, very anxious, and I was kind of unprepared. And then I recently brought her to Texas on a 2-hour flight. She was the most calm, quiet little baby. I made sure I had bottles ready, made for her. So right when she would wake up, I would just stick a bottle in her mouth and she'd be completely quiet, eating, and then go right back to sleep. It's actually, they say, a lot easier to travel with a newborn than it is a toddler. So we'll see what that's like. But with a newborn, it's pretty simple if you know their sleeping schedule and their eating schedule, if you have set up a schedule for them, or if you can just read their cues and know like, okay, they're tired, let's rock them to sleep. Okay, they need to eat, let's feed them and then rock them to sleep. They'll be fine on the planes. What's been the hardest part of it all, and also what do you enjoy the most? So the hardest part of it all, I think, really was just was dealing with like my postpartum depression. I like fell into that very quickly because I struggled with depression and anxiety prior to being pregnant my whole life, and it just went untreated for a very long time up until recently. You know, spending time with her, being so exhausted with her screaming, and I would get so much anxiety. I would literally sweat every time she would scream because I would internalize her screams and think that I was the reason and I was the problem, and that like I was a bad mom and that I wasn't doing things right. And then I'd go on social media and I'd see like all these people like on vacation in Europe, and I'm here like in a dark room feeding my baby, just gave birth. Like it was a lot to take in. And then I was realizing, oh my gosh, I have to, like the realization, like the reality of not being able to work while taking care of her really set in, and it freaked me out. And yeah, it just felt like my world was like crashing down. So that was so hard. And then, you know, adjusting to this new dynamic with me and Yaz was so hard too. And I read about this a lot too, that there's like bringing a baby into your relationship causes a lot of problems with most couples, and it is just taboo to talk about that because it's supposed to technically be like the happiest time of your life. You're having your first child with the person you love, but it is hard, and you will fight with your significant other. I think a lot of women, and especially influencers, don't tell their followers this, and a lot of people don't admit it, but like, you are going to struggle with your partner. You know, you guys are never going to be the same, and it's just a new adjustment. You guys are both playing new roles, you know, playing a mother and a father, and that's just truthfully very hard. It's very hard to understand how you're both feeling, and then you're also completely exhausted because you're not getting any sleep. And then, you know, you have a baby screaming all the time, and then one has to go back to work. Some people might not have long maternity leave. Some people might not have like super long paternity leave. It's a whole lot coming at you real fucking quick, especially when you are doing it for the first time. And the one thing that I enjoy the most is literally just like watching her grow, and parenting with Yaz is really, really awesome. You know, we weren't on a groove for a while, but we've like figured out a schedule between us two, and it's just been wonderful to share moments together, like just watching her smile and watching her like be taken care of by Yaz is just like such a beautiful sight to see. Like, I know he's such an amazing girl dad, and I just love like spending time with her and just staring at her all day. Like, it truly is like a really beautiful experience, and I don't want to shy anyone away from like the tough parts, but I also don't want to like romanticize it all, because nothing in life is that romantic. There's always ugly parts of life, just as there are pretty parts. And I think that's what makes it all so worth it. Would you guys want more kids? Honestly, I don't know if I do. Like, when I found out about Suki, I was really excited, but I feel like I would just be happy with like Suki and me and her being really great best friends, and me giving all of my love to her and building that like bond. I don't know if I could handle another kid, simply because that sounds like a lot of work. You know, I don't know if I could do two. How has your outlook on your career and work life changed? You know, it was definitely hard. I thought I'd ruined my career at first. I was so dramatic. I'm so dramatic, guys. I thought my career was over. But I'm just taking a break, and I think it's actually really, it's nice, because I think about it, I put it in perspective. Like, if I'm gonna have a kid at some point in my life, and I will have to take a break no matter what. So it's either now or later. And I'm kind of happy it's now, because I heard life really like kicks off at like 30. And I just don't think I'd want to have kids at 30 when my career is really taking off. I would want to have like my kid already. So, and I also like want to be like a young mom and be close and have a bond with Suki to relate to her better. So my outlook on like career wise, it's like only just begun, if anything. And she's just like my biggest motivation, because now all of like, I like before her, I was kind of like, what am I doing with my life? Like, what is my job? What is all this for? I feel like it really has no meaning. It feels so mundane. But now it's like, it's all for her, and it's all to give her a better life and to give me a better life and to spend this great life with Yaz, all three of us together. That's really what it's all about. Last question. Will you be doing a little cute mommy and daughter outfits? Yes, I just can't wait for the day that Suki starts walking, so I can start matching with her outfits and putting like cute fits on her. So you'll definitely be seeing that in the next year when she gets bigger. She's already growing so quickly. So I appreciate you guys being on this journey with me. It's been literally the most insane couple of months. I can't believe like I was pregnant for a whole 9 months, and then now she's here, and now we're making this video. It's all so crazy, and like it's very surreal, but I'm honestly just so grateful for you guys and like the support system that Suki now has. It's like she has all of these amazing aunts looking out for her, and I'm just so excited to continue sharing all of this with you guys. So if you have any questions, any curiosities, any concerns, leave them in the comments down below, and let me know what you guys would like to see from me next time. Suki is dead asleep on my lap, so I wish I could show you her, but we will just see you next time. Bye, sirens.